Record. Cool. Hey, welcome everybody who couldn't join for this. I'm hanging out with Justin, Jennifer, and John, the Triple J today, Monday, April 2nd. And I want to start with talking about what Jennifer, you had talked about, that you were going to be hosting a kind of an open session at your space to welcome prospective members. So can you just tell us a little bit more about what you're doing, and if you have a link to it, maybe send us a link so we can have a look.
Okay, sure. Well, Tony, you had suggested that we try to bring people into the space, on the days when we can, even if we can't have somebody here 5 days of the week. So on Thursday, I have a colleague coming to work with me here. So I said, okay, I'm going to build on that. And I've invited a couple of people who might be interested in co-working. They had reached out to me. I've also sent to some super connectors word about this. That includes SCORE, the senior retired executives who are mentoring newer businesses, and then people at the city who had also come to our event last month. So basically, I just wrote to them individually, told them what we're doing, and I did put something on our events page. So if you go to Cowork 414 and look at events, I put it in there that we're having this open co-work session, and people can write to me to sign up for that.
Gotcha. Okay, great. So, and you were saying that this was built off of something that you had, that somebody else was already planning to meet you, and then you're kind of building off of that?
Right.
So that's great. That's cool. And so I'm going to just pull up, I've got it on screen share now, pulling up your event here. And so this is Wednesday, April 4th, Marketing Madness.
That's our
and then Thursday, April 5th, open co-work session. That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. And so during this time, are you going to be planning to run any kind of programming or structure around this, or is it just going to be kind of everyone could just come hang out and work?
Yeah, it'll be actually a work session. So I'm telling people about both events, and if they want to come for some marketing support, they can come on Wednesday at lunchtime. But this is really there are a couple of people who expressed an interest in the space. Somebody else actually came to look at it, and this is a way to kind of stay top of mind with them.
I see. Okay, so this actually is kind of, okay, so now I see what you mean in terms of this being in line with one of the things we discussed before, where we've got this meetup that's happening on Wednesday, and then it sounds like you're using this co-working session the day after as kind of a follow-on to that event to say, hey, like we had this conversation, now you can come back the next day and do some work around it.
Yes, I will be inviting Wednesday's people to Thursday.
Neat. Cool. And do you have any sense of how many people are coming to this Wednesday event?
One thing I've been finding, and it's a kind of a challenge, is whether it's a tour or coming to an event, people say they're going to come, and either they don't show up or they tell me at the very last minute, oh, sorry, I couldn't make it after all. So it's been pretty challenging to actually help people implement what they have good intentions of doing.
Now you're talking about attendees of these events, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so there's a couple of issues, a couple of things we can do with that.
Okay.
For one is personal reminders going out, when you're not dealing with a huge number of people, when you're dealing with 5, 10, 15 people, if you know who those people are, first of all, sending a group message the day before with the details is helpful. But then if there are people, particularly people that you want there, making a note the day before the event to send each of them a personal message in the most specific way possible, whether it's a text message or an email, saying, hey, Bob, I'm, excited to see you tomorrow at the event. Something that's a little bit presumptive, like if they say they're coming, then you're going to treat them as if they're coming. You say like, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. If there's some specific thing you want to follow up with them on, you could say like, oh yeah, maybe after the event we can talk about that thing we were talking about or whatever, so that then it makes it more real in their mind that this isn't just some elective event that they may or may not come to, but it's personal. It's you counting on them to come and support you in this thing. And, you know, in some cases you can even appeal to them specifically and say, hey, like, I'd really love your support. You know, maybe if they were kind of a maybe on this, you could say, hey, I'd really love your support in coming to this event. You know, just, it would mean a lot to me to have you there, you know, because I want to have as many people here as possible.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is charging, honestly. When you have a free event, you know, let's say like at a larger scale, like a meetup event or something like that. If you have 50 RSVPs, you'll have 25 attendees within a few. It's pretty much 50% attrition for free events. For Facebook events, it's even worse. And this varies a lot. I've had events where you have 100% attendance off of a Facebook event. You could have 12 people and 12 people show up. I don't know where that's coming from. If you're not talking, I'm just going to mute you, John and Lotta, just to be safe. Cool. And so it really depends on the level of personal relationship you have with each attendee. But then the other thing is charging for it. So if you charge even $5, and if you charge more, then the attendance rate goes up. But if you charge $5, the number of people who RSVPs go down, but the number of people, the percentage of people who show up goes way up. It goes to like 80% or more once you charge $5. So depending on the nature of the workshop, you could ask people to pay in advance, throw it up on Eventbrite, and have people pay the $5. So something like this Marketing Madness workshop, that sounds like something that you should, yeah, I mean, it says free for members and for a limited time only, non-members. So once that's no longer once a limited time is done, then now you've got, you know, now you're charging for it and your percentage of attendance will go up. Okay. I would recommend, like, what I'm noticing here is just that there's no way for somebody to RSVP aside from messaging you. Are you considering doing an event platform of some kind?
Are you talking about like clicking on the contact us would be too difficult, or they wouldn't actually do it?
I'm talking about being able to actually RSVP for this event in a way where I get an email confirmation. Maybe there's a calendar button that I can press to add it to my calendar. I can see who else is going, that kind of thing. So
would Eventbrite do that?
Eventbrite would do that, yeah. I would say that, you know, your three kind of prime options here are Eventbrite, which is the most robust because it lets you charge, and it gets you the email addresses of the attendees, and you could have a whole formatted page, but it's the most work to set up. Facebook events, which is the easiest by far, because you really just fill in a few blanks and it's live. That also gives you the benefit of social media impact, where someone RSVPs for that event and all of that person's friends can see that that person is RSVP'd. So it makes it very shareable, very visible. So I'm a big fan of that because it's really easy and shareable, but you can't charge. So, you know, sometimes you could do like a Facebook event, but then the real RSVP is through Eventbrite if you have to charge. Like, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. It's really good to experiment. And then Meetup is great for various reasons as well. It's just, it costs money to be a member. So, you know, again, your mileage may vary. I recommend playing with all three of those platforms and getting comfortable with it. And actually, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that you're on Squarespace.
Well, we use Square to take payments.
Oh, I'm sorry. What are you using for your website?
WordPress. WordPress.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a million plugins for WordPress, but honestly, it's probably better if you just send people to one of these.
We actually have a lot of experience with all three platforms.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey,
is that you? That's you calling in over audio, yeah?
Yeah, that's me.
Cool.
With Eventbrite, you actually have the ability of embedding Eventbrite directly into your website. So, so if you're interested, you could set it up and then have the actual form in your website, so people will just go to your website and be able to sign up, and you'll have like all the functionality of Eventbrite. And Eventbrite also allows you to post your event on Facebook events as well. So it's like the best platform to get the best of both worlds.
So do I start with Eventbrite or do I start with WordPress to embed it?
Start with Eventbrite, and then it's under Manage for events. Once you've created your event, it actually like pops up automatically to put it onto Facebook if you want to, which is super helpful. And then after that, you can go into the widgets area and then get the code to embed it directly into your WordPress website.
Okay.
Ryan, I don't know. Are you calling on phone or can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. I'm just not using my video.
Okay. Yeah. So you can see I've pulled up. Is this what you're talking about on your website?
No, actually, it's for our Eventbrite stuff. It's actually on our codefevermiami.com/events. That's the one that we have with our stuff.
Okay. It looks like for the Space Called Tribe site that you've got something similar up, though.
Mm-hmm. You scroll down. I don't know if it's going to come up. Yeah. It should load in just a bit.
Yeah. Well, my bandwidth is probably running behind a little bit.
There.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Cool.
Right now, those are older events, so they're not like showing up. But if you click View Details, it should pop up.
I see. Okay.
And essentially
Cool.
embeds directly on your website.
Great. And the one that I saw on Space Called Tribe, is that also a WordPress plugin?
No, actually, for a Space Called Tribe, we're using a platform called Nexodus, since it allows us to have our website and then manage the space and all the other stuff.
All right. So while I'm waiting for this to load up properly, there it is. Okay, cool. So you can basically see the whole Eventbrite event within your website here.
Yep. And details would be register, and people just end up registering like they normally would in Eventbrite.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Cool.
Ryan, are you pretty pleased with the event management in Nexodus to where you wouldn't care to actually put those in Eventbrite, or?
I didn't even know we had our events on there. I think that was like another person on my team who put it up there. I haven't really gone through it to see like how it works personally. I know that Eventbrite works really well. I'm more than likely I can see if you can embed it directly into the Nexodus platform. Nexodus is quite complicated, and we're still trying to work through it to help manage all our stuff like sign up and everything and invoices. So I'll be able to give a full rundown probably later on in the month.
Yeah, we're using Exodus, but I haven't really, I haven't dived into the event stuff, so I wasn't sure how fleshed out that feature was.
Yeah, I have to say, just clicking through your website now, the front end looks great. I mean, I know the back end in Nexodus has been a little bit clunky the last time I saw it, but the front end looks really nice and clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but definitely got to make a lot of changes because design-wise, we need to make tons of tweaks to the website.
If you say so.
Yeah,
everybody. Yeah.
I feel like the front end for Nexodus, for the trade-off between the amount of time, like just initially, like 20 minutes into setting the thing up, you get a lot out of a little bit of time, which is what I liked about one of the things I liked about it. Because if you look at our website, it looks very similar. The basic Nexodus template.
Yeah, it does. That's why we got to make the changes.
So yeah, it's great. It's great to see a little bit specifically about some of the software platforms that you guys are using, because I know it's such a common question. What do we do with these different platforms? So I'm glad that we get a little preview of that here. Cool. Okay. So in terms of that, Jennifer, what do you think you got a nice little vibe to get started here in terms of maybe getting some of these RSVPs up and running?
Yeah, I'd like to try the embedding and Eventbrite in the website.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Let us know how that goes for you.
Okay, and thanks, Ryan, for bringing that in.
No problem.
Awesome. So incidentally, we've had Lada and Ryan join. So you want to just quickly just say a quick hello and check in with how things are going on your end? Lotta, maybe you start first.
Oh, thank you. Hey, everybody. Don't really have anything to report. This week marks the 1-year anniversary. My mom died, so I'm at home taking care of some business. But good to see everybody.
Welcome, Lotta. Sorry for your loss. I appreciate that you're taking the time for that. It's important to be able to do that. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you don't have anything to report, then I'm not going to force you. And Ryan, nice to meet you. I love your hair. Oh my God.
Why, thank you. Yeah. So with us, we worked on signing up a new member last week. We had literally an event just about every single day of last week, so it was very busy, to say the least. We did an event called Salon Just Day, which was like a social, not necessarily social justice, but a discussion about gun violence, and we had some students from a few schools who staged their own walkouts and their whole process that it took to actually create their own walkouts. It was an amazing event. We also did a focus group with a local organization here, Catalyst Miami, to get to know like what people in the actual city need in terms of services, and if they actually feel as though they're getting connected to all the services that are available in the community to them. That was amazing. And then we also did a vegan dinner, which was one of the events that you actually pulled up while going through the thing. And that was crazy. We had about, 28 people come through, and the food was absolutely amazing. And it was a great event.
Super great, Ryan. And so in terms of converting to membership, if I recall correctly, last time we discussed, we were talking about kind of creating a bridge between this event programming and, hey, now let's hang out in the co-working space and do some stuff. Have you had any more thoughts on that?
I did. I was going to do it for our office hours event that we did last week. But timing didn't necessarily match up because we couldn't necessarily do it last week because we had so many other events that were going on. And I would have done it this week, but this week I'm actually leaving to go to LA on Wednesday. So we're going to be gone like most of the week. So couldn't necessarily do that event here. So we're planning on rolling it out in, this month now, April, for our office hours that we're doing, where we're going to connect it to connect people to come in for a smaller focus group session after. So we're definitely going to be doing that this month.
Gotcha. And in terms of just membership and growing the membership, I'm always just trying to zero in on what is the easiest way to get you business, right? And one of the things that's coming to mind as I'm hearing you say this is, with all these events, did you meet people or are you aware of people from those events who are interested in membership or who you'd be interested to follow up with?
A few people. Yeah. And of course we do sign in for all of our events. So we have everybody's contact information, and then we mark out, people who are essentially our hot or warm leads.
Great. Okay, awesome. So you've got like a small population of people are hot or warm leads, and then a larger population of people who just signed in at the event last week.
Yep.
How are you following up with each of those audiences?
So I haven't necessarily set that part up. We just have the leads, set up and set aside. I gotta work away for follow up because that falls on me. But again, we're super focused on like a whole bunch of other things because this week, the reason why I'm going to LA is because we're doing our own conference. So we're taking our Black Tech Week conference that we do here in Miami on the road to 10 cities all around the US. So like there's always a weekend in the month that I'm going to be like out of the out of the office, to say. Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, I kind of figured that there was an opportunity there in the follow-up, in part because I did the same thing for a long time. And I don't know that I ever really got it right, but clearly there's a way, and maybe we have to figure out how to accommodate the fact that you're a very busy guy and you've got this event coming up. But I want to find a way that is ultra easy for you to ping back on those hot and warm leads with it could just be a 3-sentence plain text email. It could be a mail merge. right? Where you just like, hey, it was great seeing you last week. Here's a coupon for a $10 day pass. Would love to have you come back and hang with us this week. You know, and maybe even if there's a specific day when you're going to have a group lunch or whatever, you know, say like, hey, would love to have you back on Thursday. We're going to do a little lunch thing, you know, and just hit those people, just strike while the iron's hot. And then, you know, if you could do that with the follow-up for the larger population as well, I would, you know, how would you feel about coming up with a way or brainstorming a way to do that in a way that's compatible with your busy schedule?
I think that'd be great. 'Cause that's definitely something that we need, since I'm the one who oversees, you know, stuff when it comes to following up on all our leads and stuff like that.
Okay. And if you want to make the time, we could try to do a session on it, like a working session. One of the things I'm playing with is this idea of doing a couple of recorded consulting sessions, like working sessions, where we take something like this and we dive into it and actually work on it together. And then I post it online so that other people can see it. So
That sounds great.
cool. All right. I'll keep that in mind for a potential thing. Cool. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you.
So we've been kind of grooving along here. What did I forget to come back to that we wanted to talk more about? John, I know you're on a tight timeline with you've got kind of the delay on the furniture, but you've got the financing, so that's cool. Do we want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on the timeline and how to make the best use of the time you have? Oh, because I muted you. You can unmute yourself, but I will unmute you. Okay. Yeah.
Good to know. I wish.
That was hilarious.
I wish I could mute myself more often at times. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I need to be working on a timeline, correct? And as I mentioned, I think bringing Molly on and sort of setting these parameters. I mean, there's still some things left with construction. That's pretty much taken care of itself, but it's getting everything else in place. And I guess it's like your original checklist of things checking off, and that just needs to be my priority this week, is starting to look at the timelines and probably push it out a little further just to be safe, and work back from there, and everything that needs to be done prior to our opening.
Yeah, actually, now that we're talking about it, I'm realizing that you are in a bit of a opportunity to create a bit of a red zone for yourself. So, if you know that you're approaching doors open time, then we can start to kind of set, even if that date's going to move a little bit based on the rest of the timeline, that it would be nice to be able to have a strategy for the exact timeline of, okay, if we're going to open by this date, then what is everything that's going to happen between now and that date, so that, you can really lock in and focus. And then that's something we can all kind of offer our own help with as well, if you share that timeline with us.
Great.
Neat. Yeah, and it sounds like we'll have a lot more to talk about once we get your community person on board as well. Okay, cool. What else? What's going on? Who else wants to talk about stuff? I do have a topic, actually, which is just our kind of mid goals for the next 3 months or so. We're at the start of a quarter. And I know for me, it's very easy to just end up chugging along. And it's just a bad way to live life. So if there's a way to have a better sense of goals, and really things to kind of aim for periods of time, that really helps. I think a lot of us do this at the beginning of the year, but then it's easy for that stuff to fall off. So first of all, I guess I'll just kind of ask this as a question to the group. Do you have a medium and long-term goal system that you can share, or that you can tell us a little bit about? Or if you don't, do you have any interest in doing so? Anybody want to share anything along those lines? All right. I will start with, does anybody have any kind of medium or long-term goal setting system that they have at all?
We have goal setting based on our events. I haven't necessarily gone through and done our goal setting specifically for the space just yet. We've had the beginning conversations of like how many people we're looking to get in the space, but we haven't necessarily set up like membership goals for this quarter and all that stuff.
Okay, got it. Jennifer, it sounded like you were getting ready to say something.
Well, just my goals are very short term at this point, basically working off a to-do list, like getting the logo and so forth. I know I need to have some longer term goals, but it feels like they're pretty obvious, which is to fill up the space. And I'm just not, we don't have a full-time member yet. And I would really love to do that. I feel like that's a kind of crucial thing that is going to make the longer term goal feel more real.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. Great. Anybody else, in terms of how you want to approach these kinds of things? Because I think it would be helpful, and we could work on this together, to set some of this up, and I could set up some templates and things for us to use. And actually, I am thinking of doing a co-working session. I'm getting more into using these kinds of platforms, these kind of Zoom and other online things to do work together. So would you guys be interested in doing that, doing some like work time with me?
Yes.
Yep, that'd be great.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to set a date, and just trying to decide if I want it to be this week. Yeah, of course. Yes, I do want it to be this week. All right. I'm going to find out what some of the folks who don't normally come to these calls would be interested in, and use that as a bit of a way of maybe stimulating some more participation as well. So I'll post to that after this conversation's done with, and we'll go from there on that. Cool. Okay. What else? Man, we're like cooking through these topics today. What else came up that we haven't talked about yet enough?
Could I show a couple of logos?
Yeah, let's do logos.
Okay. Let's see. Maybe I should share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So you might have to unshare. Okay. This is it. It's good.
Bingo. Sweet. All right, we're in.
All right. So these are some, let me see here. Where did they go? Sorry, I just had them on the screen. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Okay, so what happened is somebody had designed some logos for me that were something she designed before she visited here. And then after visiting, she refined it. But I'm going to show you one and just get your initial feedback. Okay, now I'm ready to share. Okay. Oops. All right, can you see that?
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I can make the screen bigger. So the gears, what do you think about that?
I love them.
Okay, it kind of works with the history here because it was Bethlehem Steel, around here. I'll show you a different one. That's just slightly different. Okay, I'm going to go back to another concept. Now this is going to be something totally different.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this is based on something that my son had come up with.
Yeah, so this is more text driven, and then obviously this is like brochure style with the exterior of the building being kind of part of the imagery and the brand.
Yeah. So we like the blue color better.
Yeah, and it's really clean.
I find this email that I just sent to myself, and I don't know why it didn't pop right up in the top of the Sorry, everybody. I'm going to have to resend it. Okay. If there's something else you guys want to talk about while I get this figured out, I don't want to hold everybody else up.
Hey, Jennifer, I was just going to mention to you that
It's breaking up pretty badly. I can't quite hear what you're saying.
I was going to mention the second logo.
Yeah.
One thing you might want to think about is when you're using that in marketing material, oftentimes it's hard to reproduce a vertical banner or logo.
Okay.
Like a letterhead, and even just in icons for your website use, Instagram, whatever it may be. I know from past experience, we end up having to tweak our logo at one point in time just because it was so hard to reproduce in marketing material.
Okay, thanks for that feedback. So here's a couple of other, these are the ones she did before visiting here. So they don't have any design element from the space, but just to kind of, somebody said the C was getting kind of lost, which I think it was. We like this blue color.
Yeah, I like that color. You know, Jennifer, I got to say, I think now that I'm seeing these, I really like the cleanliness of these compared to the ones with the gears, the one with the gear inside the O. You know, maybe I would say almost, you know, if you really wanted to incorporate the gear into the logo type, I would almost just add some, what do they call them? What are the nubs? In the gear?
Oh, like the spokes?
Spokes?
The spokes, or yeah, that, you know, you kind of take the O that you already have with the lettering and just add little spokes to it, you know, so that it maintains the font consistency, but there's this subtle element of gear to it. So actually, yeah, kind of like the one you have on the lower part there.
The
just,
very bottom?
Yeah, but just with the radius of that inner circle being kind of the same as what the letter would be above it. So like a larger white circle, you know, something like that.
Larger white circle.
Yeah, so it's like almost like the O above it, you know, but with the little spokes sticking out.
And without the gears on the side here?
No, well, as John was also kind of alluding to, the gears are kind of these brand elements that can be incorporated into different media as the medium dictates. So one of the things you want to do with this, you eventually kind of end up with a style guide, but you need to be able to display this in like a little circle for Twitter or a little square for a Facebook page, you know, a banner, you know, website, business card, those kinds of things. So just for example, this here, you know, if I'm making a square representation or circular representation, like the circle logo is going to be great if you're just doing the co in that first portion of your logo. There's going to be some kind of, you know, version of this brand mark that's circle or square friendly. So it might just be that it's that co with the work 414 wrapped around it in a circle like you have in that center one.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, so then you have a nice, really great little square or circular little tiny thing. And you have to think in terms of like the favicon that you have on the website. Are you familiar with what that is?
Are you talking about on the little tab?
Yeah, like the little tiny, teeny thing that you see on the tab. But that actually becomes really important because those end up also being what you see on like on mobile in certain instances. And there's all these other places where that favicon gets used. And so having like square and circular representations that are simplified versions. And then there's kind of the core mark, which if we were looking at one of these would basically just be the logo type without the gears. And then you have these other brand elements that you can incorporate in different contexts. So for example, this looks like a business card. So yeah, you have the gears that show up there. And then the other thing you want to do once you've really settled on one of these is first of all, figure out, you know, what the font is or the fonts are that you're using and the font weights, and document that somewhere that's visible so that when someone is doing design for you, whether it's print or web, that they know what the fonts are, and the colors. So whatever color scheme you have 2 or 3 core brand colors. Make
Okay.
sure that's documented, and then update the website so that the website colors are perfectly matched to this. If you have a Twitter account, the Twitter account screen, all of that can be matched. And so basically those colors should be used everywhere you possibly can.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, of course, you're going to update this over time. So I wouldn't sweat it too much. Gravitate to what you gravitate to, pick out version 1, and then over time, those brands will get refined.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
And final point, super important. This is a perfect excuse to involve your members in the process. So I don't know if this makes sense to do during your marketing event that you're doing on Wednesday, or, you know, just as a separate informal thing. You could even print these out, have them up on the wall in the kitchen area, you know, and just have people kind of, you know, write your feedback on the logos, you know, and have some pens kind of sticky tack to the wall. But the more you invite people to be a part of this process with you, the more they're just going to be involved and emotionally invested, and the more they're going to, you know, love being a part of this thing.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, you got it.
Right.
Jennifer, I was going to mention one other thing. I don't
Yeah.
know if you have any like a monument sign or a directory sign outside your building, but both those bottom two will reproduce very well to go on any type of panel, whether it's you know, whether it's even on the exterior of your building or a monument sign in front of your building.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we are planning to have signage, and we're right by a stoplight, actually. So it's a great place to have a vivid
Absolutely.
signage. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
John, what's a monument sign?
It's usually a freestanding sign outside of a building, you know, like a McDonald's or Burger King. They all have a sign out front. Some municipalities don't allow them, but in most cities, you're going to have a sign, and especially on like an office building where you have multiple tenants, you'll see them listed outside. So you know, that's something too, that if you're occupying a space with multiple tenants, you definitely want to try to get on that sign out front just for exposure purposes.
Yeah, of course, for sure. Cool. And what's the cost like for something like that?
Minimal. I mean, I had one made for a sign. FedEx Kinko's, they do PVC, plastic, metal. It's relatively inexpensive. It just depends on how big it is, but I had like 2 signs made for under $100.
Oh, wow. Do you have pictures handy by any chance? I'm just, yeah.
I need to get that. I'll forward that on to you.
All right. Yeah.
I had to pull it down. We had to make a correction.
Yeah. Okay. Just because the signage in general is something that I never really got right, and I've always been curious about. And I feel like I could really personally would just benefit from learning and understanding more about how that realm works. I'm just pulling up some Google search here for monument signs. So yeah, okay. So we see what these look like.
Yeah,
Now,
the Founders Plaza is what I was referring to.
oh wow, this one?
Yeah, where you have multiple, you know, you have more than one tenant listed.
I see. Okay. So you're saying that basically the cost of getting your placard on one of these is like what's really cheap.
That would be minimal, because all it is they're just taking a insert and slide it in that panel there. And it's double-sided. I'm sure there's one on the other side coming from the other way.
Yeah. Now I know that for Jennifer's case, her space is in downtown in a city where there's a sidewalk, and it's kind of a storefront kind of a space, right, Jennifer? Oh, sorry, I muted you. Okay, I unmuted you.
Okay, yeah, there's not a lot of not a lot of foot traffic, but there's some foot traffic and lots of car traffic. Again, they're stopping at a stoplight, and we're very close to downtown. So we do plan to have a big sign on the front of the building. My husband's also talking about the kind that hangs out over the sidewalk.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that white building in the middle there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, is this something anyone has experience with in terms of signage, doing some of that more outdoorsy kind of stuff? Because again, I'm just always curious about the costs of these kinds of signages.
I mean, we have a kind of a temporary sign. So we have a banner kind of not dissimilar from what you're seeing on that Google Street View. But we just wrapped it around a couple T-posts just temporarily. And then we plan to have something a little more permanent, even if it might involve the banner. John, do you remember how much that banner cost? 120 or so? Yeah, here, let me, sorry to make you jealous, Tony, walking on a bright sunny day like this, but
I'll take it. All right, go ahead.
So that's our sign. And this is just a temporary thing while, just so we can get exposure while we're working on a more permanent sign, but you can see it's just a banner where we've just basically just tied, bungeed the back together so it'll hang out around those posts. But you could do something very similar by just making a little frame, and then just hanging the banner with the frame off. And we also had, remember how much the sandwich board signs were?
All right, bye, Jennifer.
Okay. And then we also had a PVC kind of sign that we built a little frame and made a sandwich sign for, which I had shown this previously. Pardon my storage room here, but it's sideways because it's sitting on the floor. That's like a I think they call it a sandwich sign or something, where it's kind of an A-frame, and it and those are pretty cheap. That one is actually, if you kind of look at it, it kind of looks like it's like almost like styrofoam, but it's actually plastic. Oops, if you look at through here, you can kind of see through. It's kind of hollow on the inside. Those are pretty cheap and they're pretty durable. And I don't recall what that actual material is called, but I'm pretty pleased with that. That was it was really cheap, really lightweight, and you could stick it just about anywhere.
Nice.
You also get a tour of the space while we're at it.
Yeah.
Tony, to answer your previous question, signage can get expensive if you have to illuminate. If it's just mounted, but there's ways you can always like uplight or downlight from the exterior. But when if you have channel letters and you put lighting in each one, that can get very expensive.
Wow. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, that's good to know. The lighting I could see, obviously that's a big expense, just being able to run the electric properly and get all that set up. So that makes sense. Cool. All right, guys. Any other things you want to talk about? You want to talk more signage or anything else before we call it a day? John, I'm excited to meet your new community manager. Maybe next week or the week after.
Absolutely, I'll get her on.
Ryan, what day is your big event?
Our event in LA is going to be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So 3 day.
All right. Well, good luck with that. Safe travels, and keep us posted on any questions that come up for you.
Definitely. Thank you guys for the feedback. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week, and thanks again.
Thanks, Tony.
All right. Take care. Bye.